everyone. Welcome to another live stream that we're doing here at Safe to Choose. Today we're going to have a really fun collaboration with HowToUseAbortionPill and also another organization who we are having the pleasure of inviting to chat with us for the first time. They will join us July, which means that it is Disability Pride Month, which is why I wanted to take this space to talk about the importance of inclusion and accessibility for people who are in
Hi,
the disability
everyone.
community. Hey, Gail from How to Use, how are you?
Hi, V. I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm good. We're just talking right now with all of the viewers about Disability Pride Month and the reason that we're doing this live stream. So could you share a little bit about that with them?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Today we are having, as always, an amazing conversation on the topic intersectionality of disability and SRHR access. And this is to commemorate Disability Pride Month. If you don't know what that is, it's a month in July where we try to, challenge all the stereotypes and everything that has to do when it comes to people living with disabilities, and also to normalize and take away the idea of people thinking if a person is living with a disability, they need to be fixed or anything. So we are basically challenging ableism, and as an SRHR space, we also are looking to center a disabled voice. That is why we are joined today by Nu from Revival Disability India. Hi, Nu. How are you doing?
Hi, can you see me, hear me?
Yes, perfectly.
All
Yes.
right. Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. It must be morning where you're at, right?
At
Uh,
my morning, Gail's
It's
afternoon.
my afternoon.
Uh-huh. So
Okay.
we're all
Yeah,
different
it's nice
times.
over
Like
here.
we're all gonna eat different things: breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
We are grateful to have you and to have this
Um,
conversation with you, because it's a very
yeah.
important conversation. And yes, thank you for sharing your time and your voice with us today. So just getting right into it, because we've already introduced the topic, we are talking about how the intersection of disability and SRHR, and we thought it would be great to start with what is Disability Pride Month? What is today about? So,
And
Nu.
Yeah.
before so, if you could introduce yourself, new for the ones that are just joining
Yes,
us right now,
sorry.
who might want to know more about
Yeah.
you, your pronouns, about disability, revival disability. So please introduce yourself.
Okay. So, hello, I'm No. I'm associated with Revival Disability India. And Revival Disability India is a collective which is led and driven by queer disabled voices and bodies. So, it started as a resistance, and we talk a lot about disability pride as we are going to today. So, it started as a resistance of disabled bodies intertwined with feminist care. So, we really believe in all kinds of movement, physical movement, um, walking, wheeling, limping, hopping, and crawling to the revolution. Right? So, we are rooted in creating a disabled culture, um, and we mainly work on storytelling, reclaiming stories of disability in India, and with crib time is something that disabled bodies function with, right? So that is at the center of our movement. Yeah. So that is about revival disability, and I am a non-binary trans disabled person. Um, Currently, I work on SRHR, disability justice, and access intimacy, as well as I work with a women's fund in India. So, yeah, that's about me.
Love that. We love that so much.
That's that. Yes, we love that so much. And you are doing so much. I actually admire you and admire what you started and what you're doing. So yeah, thank you for everything you do for SRHR and for people living with disabilities in a whole. So yeah, again, getting right into it. What is Disability Pride Month to you? What does it mean? Why do we celebrate this month?
Um, so, um, yeah. So for me, I discovered disability vocabulary. Um, I discovered that I was allowed to be proud of my disability at a fairly later age when I was about um 22 years old, and I've grown up as a physically disabled woman, right? So I've grown up in a very able-bodied, heteronormative environment, um, where I was expected to fix myself, right? Where I was expected to achieve able-bodiedness. Um, in other words, like just be okay, right? I was told in school to speak more clearly and walk more straight. And I mean, I'm not even straight now. So, yeah, so I was like really told to correct myself. Um, so that's how I grew up. And when I found a community online, I realized that, wow, I'm actually allowed to be proud of my disability. And I feel like Disability Bride is a month where as I started my career as an activist, I've always tried to be productive. Like do Instagram lives, create content online because for a lot of us, that's how we make our money, right? Lived experiences are valuable, right? They are not just meant to um like they're not just meant to decorate up the annual report. It's also valuable. It makes us earn our livelihood, right? So, just like any other content creator, disabled content creator online, I would create a lot of content. I started a community, but at the same time, it was a lot of trial and error. And me physically ill and mentally ill, right? Having multiple chronic illnesses and mental illnesses. Um, Pride has always been very abstract. When I'm productive, I feel proud of myself. I feel disability pride in my bones. But suddenly, when I'm sick, and when I spend my days in a hospital bed, that's how a lot of us grow up, right? We are called the hospital children. We grow up in hospitals, right? So that's when I hate my body, right? So I'm trying to say that disability pride is definitely not constant. Being proud of a disability in a capitalist, ableist, casteist world is not a simple thing. Um, so I think disability pride for me right now at the age of 27, having lived so many years with a disability would just mean um it would just mean health, like being taking care of myself, going out for a walk, eating healthy. Because as we're also growing up with disabilities, we have to change our perspective, right? We have to take care of ourselves. So a lot of self-care and collective care, and it's always a resistance. Um, so yeah, disability bride definitely means all of this, and just being comfortable with my slowness and my stillness. But at the same time, being queer, disabled, and chaotic from the comfort of my bedroom, because sometimes I just can't get out of bed.
I love that. I absolutely love that because I feel like when somebody hears the question, "What is Disability Pride Month?" they would maybe want this elaborate answer. I love how to you it's you just being comfortable in your skin and doing what you've been doing like almost your whole life anyway. And yeah, so Vianney, from the perspective of an SRHR advocate, what is the significance of Disability Pride Month to you?
Yes, of course. But first, I want to say, New, I absolutely love your energy and your confidence. It's so amazing. It really, I feel like you are pride. Like you are very prideful and very much so because we can tell that you're an amazing person. So I absolutely loved everything you said. It's so inspiring. But just from the perspective of somebody who works in SRHR, I think Disability Pride Month, first and foremost, it's a moment to listen to those in the community. We don't know what they live through. We don't know what they experience, and we can't make it up. We have to listen to all of your experiences, what you actually want us to advocate for. You have your voice. We don't have to give you a voice, but we can facilitate platforms. We can facilitate resources. We can facilitate maybe advocating even better. So I feel like that's something that we should be doing from an SRHR perspective. But I think it's also a month to hold us accountable in the sense that we have to do better in order to make sure that this community is always included in SRHR advocacy. When we say it's like the saying, right? All women won't be liberated until every woman is liberated. And in this case, it would be all people from the disability community won't be included and liberated until we all are. Like we have to make sure that you're included. We have to make sure that you're represented. And I think the best way to do that is just to make sure that we take this month to inspire, to listen, to hold ourselves accountable, and then replicate it the rest of the year. Because we like you mentioned, we wouldn't want to just to like stay here in July and then like, oh, we'll see you next July. Like that's not the point. It's like we want to make sure that you're always included. But I don't know, Gail, if you want to add something on.
Yeah, I mean, you said everything for from SRHR perspective, but it also reminds me of, when you're creating as an able-bodied person and you're creating for, people with disabilities, there are times that it can feel as if you are talking at the people because you do not have the lived experience of someone living with disability. So I think Disability Pride Month is an amazing month to, center disabled voices and talk with them, talk to them, hear them, and try to, from the things that we speak to them about, from what we get from them, try to incorporate that into, like we said, year-round activities so that it doesn't feel as if it's performative, sort of, because then, okay, we are only centering them this particular month just because, people will know that we are celebrating the month. So yeah, I definitely agree with both of you. And coming back to you, Nu, what does SRHR look like in the disability community as an advocate and also as a person living with disability? How does it present?
Okay, thank you for that question. Um, Now I'll start with a very personal experience, and this might be triggering. So as young, disabled, gender diverse folks and women, the main issue within the disability community and SRHR is lack of information. Disinformation, lack of resources, lack of accessible resources, right? So, for example, when it comes to contraception, for me, I have gone through violence in terms of sexual assault, and I was very young. I was a 19-year-old disabled woman, back then I identified as a woman. So, like all of that was happening, and I was just trying to cope with it. And I had to take emergency contraception, right? Um, after the incident that occurred. I had no support systems in place. No friends or even any resources to look up to, right? And I remember Googling very hurriedly whether I can take contraception on a chronically ill body, right? So I have lupus, and the most common contraception in India is called iPill. So when you take iPill with a body of lupus, then it activates the estrogen level in your blood, right? And that immediately flares up your symptoms. So, fever, joint pain, all of that. And I remember not finding any resources. This was about 2016, right? And it was just very vague, the information. There was a lot of misinformation online. There was a lot of it was really confusing for me, right? And I remember just hurriedly taking a pill anyway. So this is just like an example of um, what happens when um, no resources are available online, especially for young disabled women who are growing up, who are just about stepping into the world of dating, the world of intimacy, the world of sex, and they have no resources. They have no one to tell them what they need, what they are allowed to ask for, what they deserve, right? So, yeah, SRHR resources such as whatever it is, like toolkits, or when you go to the gynecologist, right? There isn't any accessible information available in sign language, available for a woman with um, intellectual disabilities, available for someone with psychosocial disabilities. Um, um, it's and when it comes to violence, and when it comes to police reportage, when we go to report violence to the police, when we are either intellectually disabled or when we are any kind of disabled, then our narrative is considered invalid, right? It's considered non-credible. It's considered that they cannot understand us, right? They cannot understand, or they think we are lying, or whatever it is. Because there are no disability affirmative trained doctors, uh, police staff, healthcare professionals. Um, whenever violence occurs related to SRHR, medical violence, rape, sexual assault, then there's a very clinical um, method that is followed, right? The person is taken to the hospital, and forensic inquiry is conducted, right? With no sensitivity, with no regard um, for recognition of the disabled body. So there are various problems that arise. Abortion in my country, India, um, is partially legal according to the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. It has been revised several times, and right now, a fetus can be aborted up till 20 weeks, right? So there are two problems in that. One is that you might have seen globally as well, where abortion is concerned, no action is taken until the pregnant person is so severe or is so um or is so ill, right, that there is no way back from that. They have to be severely ill or like close to death in order for someone to take action, in order for someone to perform the abortion. Where disabled people are concerned, um, in India, um, um, a disabled person has to be accompanied by a guardian to the doctor, who then will sign a document, and then the abortion will be conducted. So of course there's infantilization as well, right? So all of these have to be considered when we are talking about SRHR. Um, yeah, and apart from that, when we bring in disability pride, I have worked globally. I'm very privileged to have worked with disability activists from all around the world, from Kenya, from Nigeria, from Brazil, from South America, all over the world, right? So um I remember there was one disability activist who was deaf, and she used to say that um in the deaf community there is no secret, right? So if there are if across the table, if two people are flirting in sign language, right? So everybody on the table will know what they are saying, right? These are a lot of nuances about pleasure, about just having fun, about just being being a like um being a person who's aroused, who's intimate, um who's not um um all the time. It doesn't have to be about our disability, right? Our disability is important, but sometimes for me, I don't want to think about my disability, right? Sometimes I just want to be a young 27-year-old searching for love, searching for intimacy, searching for sex on a dating app, right? So yeah, there are many nuances to pleasure, to SRHR, where disabled bodies are concerned, where queer bodies are concerned, trans bodies are concerned. And I really don't think we should, in this life especially, we should get caught up in um, the problems. Yes, problems are a lot, but at the same time, we also have to look at community-led solutions, right? So yeah. I like to talk more about this in the next question. So yeah.
Again, thank you for sharing your lived experience, because I I don't think I've really sat down to think about it from some of the angles and some of the nuances you mentioned, like the fact that in the deaf community there's no secrets. I mean, I've when you said it, it makes sense. I've just never had to sit down and then think about it. And also affirming you that yes, you deserve to look for and find love without being thought of as a disabled person looking for love. You deserve that so much. And if you've not found it already, I'm manifesting it for you and I'm rooting for you, Nu. V, do
Thank
you
you
have
so much.
anything to add to what Nu said?
The only thing I was thinking of is that first, thank you so much for feeling comfortable enough to share your experience with us. We really appreciate you being open and honest. And, I think that ties into what I wanted to say is that when you research, you read a lot of data. The data tells us that people with disabilities, people who are queer, people who are people of color, marginalized people, they experience a lot more stigma, a lot more violence whenever they're trying to access SRHR, but it's not the same as hearing someone actually tell their story and share their experience. I think it's much more impactful, and it really highlights that this is an issue that impacts us all. I feel like if you listen to this and you don't want to advocate, like, you need to change something, because even if first, you never know if maybe at some point of your life you might be a part of the disability community. We always assume that we're always going to be able-bodied, but that's not true.
Yeah.
And second, I think it's just important, like I said, we have to advocate for all. And I think when we advocate for those who face the most repercussions and stigma, it'll just get better for everyone. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I really hope that we can do a better job and do more to make sure that we're always advocating for your community.
So based on everything you already shared, we can, I mean, the three of us here and anyone listening can agree that when SRHR policies and programs are put in place without being inclusive, it can be dangerous and harmful. So this is coming to you first. Why is it important that we talk about disability and center, people with people living with disability in SRHR spaces?
I think honestly, there's so many things that pop up in my head. One, they're a human being who deserves access to SRHR. That's the first thing. Two, like we mentioned, they might be part of the most vulnerable communities because there's lack of information, there's lack of adequate medical tools and procedures to adapt to what they need and what they want. I think sometimes I would assume that one of the issues too is that somebody that might live with a disability won't be taken seriously. I feel like that's something that I've heard a lot when I've had conversations with people. It's that the medical professionals won't take their words seriously. Like, you have to listen to like their spouse or their parents or something, and that's really unfair. But also, again, like New mentioned, they want access to pleasure, to be able to live their sexuality openly. And that means that we need to share adequate quality sexual education, quality birth control methods that adapt to whatever they need, quality abortion care in case they decide that they don't want to continue a pregnancy. And I would hope that, like you mentioned, that whenever they need these tools, it's not like at the last minute, or it's not like many barriers to accessing it. So many important reasons. And like I mentioned, everyone needs access to quality SRHR. I don't care who you are, where you live, your age, your race, anything. It doesn't matter. You deserve it. You should have it. And at the very least, at minimum, you should have the right information for you. So if as a society they still don't have the right information, then we're not doing what we have to do. So I would say that.
I perfectly agree. So in a way, you could say that we as SRHR advocates, we are trying, but maybe we could do better, because at the end of the day, no one should be denied the right to be a parent, or the right to not be a parent, the right to, enjoy sex, enjoy pleasure as a person, and not be looked at, in any sort of way, or denied just because you are not an able-bodied person. No, how does ableism show up in SRHR systems from your experience, and from being in the community, from talking to people? How does it usually show up when you decide to maybe assess SRHR?
Okay, just repeating your question. So you're asking, how does ableism show up in SRHR, right? From my discussion with the disabled queer community.
Sorry?
So I'm just repeating your question.
Yes.
So you're asking, how does ableism show up within SRHR from my conversations with disabled queer people, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So again, continuing with how abortion, how sexual and reproductive health, how access to um, medical facilities, sexual wellness, um, how is it viewed in India? So there are lots of clauses, right? There is, of course, right-wing governments, anti-gender movements, um, a lot of anti-trans, um, um, uh, just a lot of casteist movements. Um, so there is, I would like to give an example of a person who is who is like part of the Adivasi caste in India, who is disabled, queer, as well as someone who is trans, right? So they are trans, um, they are a trans man, and they were seeking shelter within because they were also estranged from their native family, as so many of us are when we are queer, right? They were seeking shelter from the government. Now we have something called Garima Greh in India, where the trans community has their entire set of shelter homes based in India, in Gujarat. And there are lots of there's a lot of process when it comes to gaining membership of these shelter homes. So when this person was seeking shelter, he was asked to choose, right, between his disability and between his transness. So the government was like, are you trans or are you disabled? Because you can't be both, right? You have to choose one, and only then you will gain access to the shelter home, right? So when you're asked to choose between two very important parts of your identity, something which you didn't choose and something which you are very proud of, then what do you do, right? Which identity comes first? So trans disabled people are definitely not, anyway, globally we are not identified within policy, right? So how do we access healthcare services in this case? Um, our bodies are dehumanized, pathologized. Um, we are asked to choose between our transness, between our disability, between our caste, between everything actually, and never given a respectable choice, never given dignity, which we all deserve, right? So, how then do we come out of the situation? So, how do we disrupt? How do we question? How do we destroy ableist systems, right? Um, so yeah, um, one of the ways is also looking at SRHR in various local and regional languages. And I remember this is something that Catherine also told me, like we met in Taiwan for the first time. And she was talking about how in her culture, there is a lot of surveillance, right, related to SRHR. But when it comes to the local language, AI doesn't detect, subtitles don't detect her local language. So, various words can pass by, like words like vagina, words like abortion in local language, which are allowed because the meta AI cannot detect, Eurocentric and white, able-bodied, cannot detect the language. So I think this is a very nice hack to, make everyone aware of SRHR in your culture. And I think we really need to begin to look at data systems, what happens when our bodies become data, what happens when our medical histories are there for everyone to see, what happens when, just how do our datafied bodies look like, right? So we really need to start looking at SRHR information. How is it being predicted online? How is our privacy also being sold in many ways? Um, yeah. So I wanted to add that, and I had another point to add. Where resources are concerned, I really think there is a resource where there are these videos by Safe Abortion ASAP, where they have created a resource of explaining sexual and reproductive health in sign language. So I think that's a very valuable resource where you explain basics, right? Basics of SRHR in sign language, because um, it makes even young women with disabilities aware of what's going on in their body, or um, what do they have access to, what should they not do, what they can do, right? I really think we need to really have a disabled culture when it comes to SRHR. We need to have a reference point to what it's like being queer and disabled in today's world, what it's like accessing various services when you are queer and disabled. And in that way, I really think writing and storytelling is something which has been like a great outlet for me to also know about my community. Um, we've written great articles. There was an article written by a blind gay man where he spoke about what's the experience of getting condoms or buying condoms as a blind man, right? And this was an article written um, in 2024 Disability Bright. So I really feel like we need more articles like that, which looks at accessing pleasure, accessing sexual services, sexual wellness services as a process, and not as, just like um, okay, a disabled person falls in love and gets married, like a very heteronormative dream, and that's the end, right? That is not all that we are, right? We have chosen family, we have caregivers, we have our partners as the caregivers. We reclaim and not reclaim our life every day, right? So I really feel we need to begin to have more and more and more stories, um, um, good, bad, ugly, grievous, horny, beautiful, like just everything, right? Like disabled people should write about their experiences, um, and they should write on Revival Disability India. I mean, self promotion, but whatever. But yeah, I really feel that is one way to look at care systems and how to reclaim and redefine and co-build with everyone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I perfectly agree. And as you were speaking, and when you mentioned what safe abortion ASAP is doing with sign language, realizing that in as much as a lot of us SRHR organizations and collectives believe that we are being inclusive, I think very few organizations put videos out there that have, like that is accessible for people with
Yeah.
visible disabilities. Like I barely see videos with subtitles are there, all right, but I barely see videos with sign language. I barely see lives where someone is in the live translating into sign language. I barely see images with all text for, for readability's sake. So yeah, it definitely does draw my mind to that maybe it's not conscious, but we are all propagating ableism in one way or the other, in one form or the other, because with us not creating content that's accessible enough, that's just us excluding people living with disabilities. So yeah, we definitely can do better. V, do you have anything to add to this part before we move on?
Honestly, I think both of you said everything that we need to take into account and that needs to be implemented. I would rather take the time to thank you, Nu, because there are so many things that we haven't considered, and it's because we need to take this, this time to listen to them. And I hope everyone who's listening to this live stream right now, first of all, is listening, actively listening, and questioning what are the things that we can do better, what are the things that we can support with. And again, if anybody has any questions or any comments or want to share their experience, please feel free to do so below. We really love to hear everyone's experience, any suggestions on ways that everyone can do better and be more inclusive. But I think that there are so many barriers, unfortunately, that exist and that aren't tackled because we're not actively listening to the disability community. So I think that since, for example, Gail and I are in the communication space, we're going to actively listen and take this into account and make sure that we're doing our best job. And then when we work with abortion providers and we work with advocates, we're going to make sure to always include the lessons that you're teaching us and implement it everywhere. So we're really thankful for that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Back to you, Nu. This is just to wrap up. What do you, as a person living with disability, what do you want non-disabled SRHR organizations like us, like Safe to Choose and How to Use, what do you want us to understand and do better for the disability community, and what can we also do to support access to SRHR for people living with disabilities? So we are taking recommendations from you, basically what we can do to make sure that we are being inclusive and accessible enough.
Thank you so much, firstly, for this conversation. And a lot of people don't talk about SRHR and disability pride together. And showing it as collective pride. So, yeah, really thank you for this conversation. And I think, firstly, even I'm in the communication space. For me, I grew up doing a lot of traditional art, right? Like painting and drawing and doing a lot of arts and crafts. And then I fell ill, right? And then I was on the hospital bed. And I didn't know how to move my fingers or like actually create art again, right? And I think when I got well enough, I went online and I discovered Canva, right? Canva or online platforms of editing, designing. So I really felt like Canva is somewhere where I can create my disabled art, and that was actually like the foundation of Revival Disability India, where we work a lot on artvitism, art and activism, and we work a lot on publication. So we have a lot of disabled artists on board, right? So I felt like Canva was somewhere where I can just get down and dirty with my disabled art, where I can express myself and instead I don't have to physically go and um, um, do the process of traditional art, which is very difficult for me as a physically disabled person. So yeah, I just wanted to add that as a comms person as well. Um, so there are many types of communication professionals, for example, right? We come from all different areas. Um, many of us are neurodivergent. Many of us love the shapes and figures that we create for our passion project. Um, so yeah, I don't know why I'm saying this, but just like, you both are communication professionals, and I am too. So like, I just thought we could connect on that. So yeah, one is that like respect um people who are in all professions. Like disabled people are everywhere. We've always been everywhere. Um, we are we have lived experiences, but also we are experts of our own body, right? Um, so looking at that, and secondly, when we look at disability price, for example, it is an ongoing process. Um, Organizations really have to look at crib time as um, as a center of the universe when it comes to disabled bodies, because crib time in many ways helps in disabled body function, right? A lot of us when we are growing up, we don't follow normative timelines. For example, when we, for example, when we come out as gay and when we kiss a man, being a man for the first time at 30 years old, it seems like a first kiss, right? So that is the second adolescence, and a lot of us go through that. A lot of us who don't have a normal childhood, right? So keeping into account the process um of imparting SRHR information really has to follow time, because there are so many processes, there are so many do's and don'ts, and a lot of the times a neurodivergent brain might get confused. So how do we look at taking things at our own pace, right? How do we look at taking intimacy at our own pace? And as you also said, this is not only for disabled individuals, because all of us are going to be disabled at some point, and accessibility is not only for disabled individuals, right? Excuse me, it's for all of us. It makes all of our lives simpler and easier. So yeah, looking at this as organizations, um, um, respecting your disabled employees, their sick days, respecting them when they take things at their own pace, and how do we incorporate that into our practice, right? We don't only critically look at things, but we also intentionally incorporate that into our practice. Yes, accessibility, physical accessibility is important, but so is just like looking at disabled people as human beings more than anything. Not placing them on a pedestal, not infantilizing them, but just looking at them as your co-workers, your friends, your lovers, your intimate partners, right? So I really think that is something that can work, and of course, um, just looking at community-led and driven solutions instead of looking at very extractive corporate solutions. I think that's something we can definitely do. This disability pride, um, um, like in a way decolonizing and de-Brahmanizing a lot of practices in SRHR. SRHR has primarily been, very white, able-bodied. So how do we look at that from a decolonial lens? It's very important because we exist as brown bodies, as people who of different races, of different castes, of different religions, right? And we all have different ways of looking at the world, of existing in our body. So yeah, um, how do we look at that?
That's so insightful. Thank you so much. It's really given me like a lot to sit and think on this whole conversation, and I'm sure it's same for V. We have a question in the comments. So no, someone is asking. Yeah, V, you want to
I
add
think
something?
I think New did answer it, but we'll just reiterate it for New in case you want to add on to it. But
Yeah.
Isabella_Lola said, "This is a good conversation and super insightful. Please, I want to know how you can be supportive to the disability community without infantilizing them, and how best to respect their boundaries."
Um, yeah. So again, reiterating what I was saying about like including your sorry, 1 minute. Yeah.
That's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Including your disabled friends in your conversations around sexuality, around um sex, around intimacy, um not looking at them as something separate, as something um desexualizing them, or hypersexualizing them, but just looking at them as a person, being involved in in life in general. And definitely, I would like to say justice for disabled children in the clinic, because being a disabled child in the clinic, my consent has been violated time and again. I was just 14 when I was actually I was 12. Yeah, I was exposed to a very violative medical procedure, where they inserted basically a needle into my vulva, and that was medical abuse, right? And that resulted in me losing an organ. So it was that bad. But at that time, my consent wasn't taken because I was seen as incapable of making my own bodily decisions in the clinic, in the clinic settings, where our bodies are always delegitimized, especially those of children in general, but also disabled children to a larger extent. So definitely, I would like to mention disabled children respecting their consent. If they say they are uncomfortable with something, it means no, right? Um, and I feel so protective right now of um younger me in the hospital, that I'm just very protective. I think when we look at care also, I'll say this very quickly, but when we look at care also, we look at it as transactional, right? We look at it as an able-bodied person taking care of a disabled person, but we don't look at it as mutual, right? And we don't look at it as a disabled person caring for themselves. So I really feel growing up with everyone around me taking care of like me, I've really had to teach myself how to take care of myself when I finally was living alone. So I make it a point to um for example, look at what medicine I'm eating, what is the doctor saying, questioning the doctor time and again, even if it means writing medical shit on chat GPT, but just being in charge of my own body, right? So I really think um yeah, yeah, I really think these are the ways where able-bodied people um should not infantilize disabled people, but also, in a way, disabled people should also not, like, should also take care of themselves, right? Because our bodies are our bodies. And in a way, I also used to infantilize myself a lot. Because the world around you infantilizes young disabled women, young disabled people. So, how do you in a very metaphorical sense, stand on your two disabled feet? So yeah, yeah.
You're funny, you. I'll give you that. But yeah, I I perfectly understand you. Unfortunately, our time is up, and I am so enjoying this conversation. I've learned a lot. I've listened actively, and I'm sure V has to. This has been a very insightful conversation, and I am hoping we are able to share it wide and across so that a lot of people also get to listen to what you're saying, because I think, yeah, it's very important. But to wrap up, do you have any resources to share for anyone who
I
is watching right now or will watch later?
yeah, I definitely do. So this is something this is like a physical copy. So we created this. It's called Disabled Women Riot. And I have examined violence through a very disability centered lens where I call it disability based violence and not gender based violence, because looking at how people's disability and the disabled states
Mm-hmm.
cause them to be exposed to violence, right? So there's a lot of SRHR information as well as how various disabled bodies exist in public and private and intimate spaces. So you can definitely get this. This is available. You can definitely message Revival Disability India, and I can email you um, a PDF version of it. Secondly, we've also made a toolkit called A Trip to the Abortion Clinic, which deals with the experiences of queer, trans, disabled folks within the abortion clinic. We've seen, we've led like a clinical inquiry into, the abortion clinic as a place which is where our bodies are delegitimized. But we also like, how do we look at freedom and how do we look at being trapped and infantilized. So we got like a lot of insights around that. A lot of people said that they don't know how to have an abortion because where where they don't know how to rest recover after the abortion because they live with their family and they definitely cannot rest in their family home. And this was something that was constantly there, like privacy violations as well as medical violations. So I really think that would be helpful for anyone wanting to know about community-led problems as well as solutions. And again, you can message Revival Disability India and definitely I'll email you with.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, guys, go follow Revival Disability India, and yeah, you will have access to these amazing resources that Nu has shared. V, do you want to share the resources for Safe to Choose?
Yes, of course. First, I'm sorry my camera's off. Meta always censors us and like automatically turns it off sometimes. But
Yeah.
we are safetochoose.org. We're a digital e-health platform that provides information on safe abortion, both in-clinic abortion and abortion with pills. We have a free counseling service which works from Monday to Friday. Whenever you need support, you need someone to listen to, someone to talk to, someone to digitally hold your hand and guide you through your journey. Our Safe to Choose counselors are there for you and speak in multiple languages. And if you can't chat with them, you can chat with our Safe to Choose chatbot. We also have testimonial videos from people all around the world who are sharing their abortion experiences to help destigmatize abortions, normalize abortions, remind us that no matter where you are or who you are, you should be able to access safe abortion services if that is your choice. We also have, you can follow us on social media at Safe to Choose. We share a lot of content. We try to share a lot of voices, a lot of stories. We try to share a lot of resources. So yes, please, if anybody needs any abortion support, and I guess if you need anything else, you can send us a message at Safe to Choose. And thank you, Nu, for sharing your resources. That artwork is amazing. And I relate to you in the sense that Canva has helpfully like helped us make more art and make it better. I'm not that great, in original formats, but like I know us communication people stick together and share our creative secrets. And you, Gail, for how to use.
Yes, hi everyone. How to use is it's a collective, a group of people who believe that everyone, irrespective of where you live and what language you speak, you should have access to accurate and reliable information on the abortion pill. So on our website you can find information on how to start your abortion with pills process all the way to the end. We have a video series, very interactive, and that can help you through the process. Most importantly, we have a chat board, a safe abortion chat board. Ali is available 24/7. It does not matter whether it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. your time. All you need to do is send hi to Ali. You can chat with Ali on our website if you want a private and confidential conversation. However, Ali is also available on WhatsApp using the link in our bio and on Instagram. However, I will personally recommend that you speak to Ali on the website. For medical providers, we also have a course that can help you to provide person-centered care for abortion seekers that come to you for help. And also, just because Nu mentioned contraception, WFD, which is like her mother name, has Myka the chatbot that you can also chat with. So on Instagram, on all social media platforms, actually, Myka the chatbot, and then you can start a conversation with Myka. Myka can help you to figure out what contraceptive method is best for you so that you can make an informed choice. You can also find us How to Use on all social media platforms at How to Use Abortion Pill, and our website is howtouseabortionpill.org. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so very much, Nu, for making time for us to have this insightful conversation.
Yeah,
We
thank you, Nu.
appreciate you
You're
very
absolutely
much.
amazing. You are a firework. You're so inspirational.
Yes.
We would love to be more like you and have your energy. So thank you so much for taking the time to
Yes.
share everything with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me. And you both are lovely. And yes, communication people have to stick together. So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Have a great day.